Welcome to Exploring Santa Cruz, a bi-weekly program on KSQD 89.5, 89.7, and 90.7 FM. I'm your host, Matilda Rand, and my guest is Martha Nitzberg from the Natural Bridges State Beach. The Natural Bridges State Beach is a 65-acre California state park in Santa Cruz. The park features a natural bridge across a section of the beach. It's also well known as a hotspot to see monarch butterfly migrations. Martha Nitzberg is an interpreter at the park. She has worked with state parks, Fish and Wildlife, and other state agencies. She loves to connect people of all ages to the state park. Welcome, Martha.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me here today. And I'm excited because we're starting to see some monarch butterflies in our garden and also a few that are coming down into the grove. And we have 2 weeks before our big festival welcoming them back.
We'll talk about that in greater detail later. Martha, what sparked your interest in Natural Bridges State Beach?
Well, as a child, I would come to the park and we would play on the beach back in the day when there were probably more birds than people at Natural Bridges. Mm-hmm. And we would find days when there was really nice low tide. We were coming over the mountain back when Highway 17 didn't have a center divide, if you could imagine. My parents would take us early mornings and we would look at all the tide pool animals and play on the beach and have just a lovely time there.
Why early in the morning? What was going on in Highway 17?
Just fewer people.
It
was too dangerous going over it, they felt. So they
it had a
really
special
early.
name, right? Like Blood Alley or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Well, I'm glad your parents did that and you're here because now you are playing a major role at the Natural Bridges State Beach.
One of our new docents, she was in kindergarten in one of our classes, and she's back as a docent to share with other people about the park. So it's really lovely when it can make this turnaround. And I'm sure that some of the junior rangers and little rangers that have been involved in the park also are bringing their families or somehow making it be special in their lives.
Originally, the park was named after the natural bridge that was located on the shore. But once that fell 33 years ago, what did the park do in that time to commemorate the loss of the bridge?
There originally were 3 when we got our name. And then, like you say, there were 2 natural bridges for many, many years through the 1900s. And then in 1980, the bridge that was connecting the mainland to the arch that we still see today, the iconic arch, that fell. It was almost like a child having their first front tooth fall out. It was really traumatic to the community and really hugely, profoundly important to people's lives because it looks so different. The rangers that were there at the time and also the maintenance people, they didn't have interpreters back then. They said, we should have a wake for the bridge. But let's wait. Instead of during the stormy winter time when it happened, let's wait till the fall when it's nice and beautiful weather, kind of the nicest weather happens early October. Let's have a festival welcoming the butterflies back as well. And that's the genesis of Welcome Back Monarchs Day.
Uh-huh.
So everyone who's been coming, that's where it all started.
During that wake for the bridge, you had a poetry off?
Yeah, so the rangers at the time, they were very creative and they had a poetry off and they came up with different stories and songs and poems. People from the community joined in also, and they really had a good time celebrating and commemorating the falling of the bridge. Other people over time have made up songs too to commemorate the falling of the bridge, so that's been significant.
Do you have any poetry here?
One of the songs that Steve, one of our docents, made up is, "Are you going away with no word of farewell? Will there be not a trace left behind?" And on about the arches falling. And so for probably much of the 43 years, people have been sort of teasing and taunting us, what are you going to be called when you lose your arch, your last natural bridge? So it's kind of interesting how over time things have changed. And we have a little twist this year.
And what's the twist?
The twist this year is I'll tell you a poem, and hopefully I can inspire you to write poems because we're collecting poems and having people read their poetry and rhyme and prose, whatever you want to do, about something significant that happened this year. So here's the poem. January storms, pounding, crashing, creating hole, new bridge appearing.
There is a new bridge?
Yes. So we can rejoice. It's not quite under the 20-minute parking lot at the top. But if you do look from the sand towards that fence that goes around that parking lot at the top, you'll see just a little bit to the right at sand level, there's a little hole that's been forming. And actually about 2 months ago, I crawled through it. So it's getting bigger all the time.
We're going to be truly natural bridges again.
Yes, we can reclaim our name. It's wonderful.
I think I heard you say something like there was a zip line when they commemorated the 43 years ago. What was that?
Some of the maintenance people, Chris Sanguina was a maintenance person, young maintenance person at the time, and then she became a ranger, and then she became part of the dispatch, and now she's retired. But she was telling me a story about how they wanted to have a really fun entry of, quote, Monarch Man. They decided that they would have a zip line. And of course, everybody had to practice for a number of weeks as they made sure that it was safe and worked and everything. Sadly, the tree is gone, and sadly, we're not able to do a zip line anymore. But it sure was fun, I hear, having one of the rangers come zipping down and into the middle of the crowd with cape flapping and
Monarch Man.
Monarch Man, yeah, coming to save the day.
Oh, that's fantastic. Boy, I love to see that.
Yeah, I would have loved to seen that too.
Me too.
Just like the 3 natural bridges, all we can see is a picture. This year we do have our festival, and this year we do have some skits that are going on and a whole lot of other activities that I think families would really enjoy.
Tell us about it.
The theme of this year is Pollinators Need Your Help. Seems like it's appropriate and meaningful. We can have lots of things to share about that and how people can make a difference. And I think people want to make a difference because most of us really love the monarch butterflies in this town. It's a fun, family-friendly event, and it goes from 11 o'clock until 4 o'clock. And we have some arts and crafts. We're doing hand painting, and we'll have some live music. And we'll have some food for sale. And as I mentioned, the skit and a big free cake. And we're going to have handmade, hand-cranked pumpkin ice cream. So that's going to be a lot of fun. If you want to purchase a meal, we'll have a vendor with empanadas, and we'll also have, of course, the historic butterfly cookies and other things.
A whole family affair with nothing to worry about. You'll be fed and just bring money and you'll have a good time.
Yes.
And people will be writing poetry at the same time?
Yes, we're going to say, read a poem, write a poem.
Uh-huh.
And so that'll be fun to have people share their poetry. And then also we'd love to have people share poems ahead of time if you would like to say it over the PA system to the world and announce your poem and read it out loud. We'd ask you to email us ahead of time. So it's naturalbridges@ports-ca.us.
And Ports is written Ports
Correct.
-ca.us. Good. We'll repeat it again later on for
Yeah.
people. So it looks like a fun time on October 8th.
Yes. We'll also have some serious things because I think that people don't always know what pollinators need.
Good.
And sometimes people think that this is a bad insect, I need to spray it and kill it. And there's things that you can use that are called organic that are very, very dangerous. They're made from nicotine. They're called neonicotinoids. But of course, they don't have that as their name. One of the tables that we have will talk about some of the things you can do that are positive for pollinators, and then also some warnings about some of these words and these labels that you'll need to look for if you're going to actually be using any kind of spray to kill insects, because nicotine kills all insects and it's incredibly deadly. They banned it in Europe. We used to have it banned. Seed companies made it so that people felt like there was a need for using nicotine, and now it's become something that's allowed in some poisons that people can purchase in stores. So it's really, really, really insidious and very dangerous, and especially for monarchs and butterflies and actually all insects.
And basically what we need to do is look at the ingredients.
Absolutely.
Because it will be written on.
But it won't say neonicotinoids. So we'll give you the clues of all the different names,
Okay.
imidacloprid and all kinds of different names that they use. Kind of a sneaky way to get around people knowing what they're really putting on their plants.
That day is a family day. It's also a day to learn.
Yes.
And we all will be having a good time and coming away with some things that we can do to help monarchs, because we all love monarchs.
Yes.
We all look for them.
It's all part of our town. This morning, I have a friend staying over with us, and she was commenting about seeing the shadow of the monarch over our porch. It was really fun.
Well, that brings me actually to the programs you have for school children, because that must be a lot of fun.
Yes, we've had incredibly popular programs for school programs. Sadly, we are pretty much full right now with all the programs. We're doing 10 different programs a week. Plus, we have another 3 spots that teachers can sign up to come on their own. And those are pretty much almost full, not quite full. For the different grade levels, we like to talk to the teachers about what exactly they're studying and try to match what they're hoping to get out of their program. So if they're studying about pollinators, we can go to our pollinator garden and do a little more activity about that. If they really want to do adaptations, we can focus a little more in on maybe their senses or how they survive. As the teachers come to us, they share what they're hoping to get out of the program, and then we have some really fun activities, and of course, people love the costumes.
Tell me about the costumes.
Well, if you come to Welcome Back Monarchs Day on October 8th, you will see our costumes. They're very fun and playful. It's the life cycle.
Oh.
So we have all the different stages.
And all of your interpreters will wear the costumes, or people from the public can wear them?
So we're going to have our docents, our volunteers wearing the costumes, and so you'll see them through the day, and that's a lot of fun. Yeah.
I can imagine.
But if you in the public have wings, bring them, because we're going to have a parade. And in our parade, it's for all ages, and we have a monarch flag. So we'll be doing a short parade, putting up a monarch flag, and perhaps singing a song about the monarchs.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, it is time for me to let people know that they're listening to Exploring Santa Cruz on KSQD. I'm here with Martha Nitzberg of the Natural Bridges State Beach, and we are talking about the bridge that fell down 43 years ago, and you read some wonderful poems. And then we're talking about the Welcome Back Monarchs Festival that started 43 years ago because there was a wake and there was something that needed to be done to memorize all that. Now we're also talking about what we do with kids. Do the kids come to you, or do you also go to classes?
We don't have enough staffing right now to go to the classes, but we used to. And it's very fun to do that. One of the ways we can go to the classes is virtually. And we do have some spots and some room, especially in the springtime. We'll have a chance for any of the teachers that are able to hear this. You can ask for a virtual program. Actually, you can just go online to our website. And at the website, which is parks.ca.gov. And that gets you all of state parks. And then from the state park website, you just say visit a park and you put N in for Natural Bridges. And there it is. You click on that. And then as you scroll through, you'll see a whole section about teachers. And in the springtime, springtime, we'll have a number of times where we can come to your classroom through the virtual program and share with you about whatever topic you're interested in having us come and share about. So grade level specific. So we'll join your class vicariously through that, and then we'll hopefully inspire people to come on their own to come to the park.
That's great. Because you also have a museum.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
And a bookstore.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And the park store actually helps to fund programs in our park. They have really, really fun things to purchase, and it helps people to take home a memory and something rather than taking something from the park. And also it does support the park.
So besides the Welcome Back Monarch celebration October 8th this year, what other celebrations does the park organize?
We have a goodbye party for the butterflies, and that happens right around Valentine's Day. And we call it Migration Festival. Elizabeth Hammock, my former boss, started that. That was in 87 that she started that. So a little bit less time than Welcome Back, but almost as long. So we've been celebrating by having the Migration Festival not only celebrate the monarch's migration, but all the animals that migrate through the Monterey Bay. Whales and newts, turtles, birds, all kinds of different things that migrate. And that's a very fun festival for the older elementary, high school, adults, college students, whatever. It's really a fun activity, not only for the little kids with their passport and their stamp, as we've historically done, going around to all the different booths and seeing things, but also for all of you that want to learn and find out more about these interesting animals in our area. We've got some wonderful, wonderful community groups that join us. Last year, I think we had 24 different groups join us. So it's a really special time to come learn about animals and celebrate.
So there's all local organizations that deal with migration of different animals.
Highlighting whatever it is that they highlight. If it's whales, the thing that they're talking about, they come telling us about whales. If it's the birds, then they come with bird stories to share. Also, I should mention, we have in the winter and springtime, we have tide pools in addition to the monarch butterflies. So a lot of teachers find that compelling. They can do it either by doing it, again, vicariously through the programs where we're doing it online and speaking to their classroom on Zoom, or we can do it in person as well.
Those are the ones that you do during the vacation times?
Actually, we do tide pools during the springtime as well. Whenever it's a good low tide and it's a time that's convenient for people to come, we like to do a tide pool tour whenever we can. The tides don't always cooperate. Sometimes it's 3 o'clock in the morning and the park is closed. We're only open from 8 o'clock until sunset. But when it's a good time, especially on weekends, we try to have a tide pool walk.
If you want to learn more, again, here's the contact information for the park. You go to parks.ca.gov, and then you look under the programs, under the N for Natural Bridges, and you find a lot of information. And if you want to email Martha and her colleagues, it is naturalbridges@ports-ca.us, and ports is spelled Ports. Phone number 831-423-4609. Now, Martha, you have some more poetry.
I do. I'm hoping that people will write poems about the natural bridge forming and this new hole that we've seen. And if you've not seen it, you definitely need to come to the park. And I have a couple of poems that I pulled out, short ones, to share in hopes that if you are saying, well, geology isn't my thing, but I love the butterflies, maybe you'll feel inspired to do a poem about butterflies. So here's one that's a very old poem from the 1980s. The monarch is a butterfly that comes here for winter rest, and we will hope that you enjoy them and leave them at their best. They need their peace and quiet, and for this they use this park. With your help there will always be the beautiful monarch. Another poem that was written, and unfortunately I only have a name, Rebecca. So here it is. Flutter, floating higher, soaring, climbing, alighting. Miniature kites, flap.
Flap. I like that, flap. We talked about teachers, we talked about the festivals, and you talked a little bit about volunteers. So the public can get involved, and what volunteer opportunities are there?
That's a great question. Right now we're in the middle of monarch training, and anyone who would wish to join us this Sunday, it's really the last time we can have somebody come and join us for the season because it'll be too many sessions that people will have missed. So that would be if people wanted to lead tours or help in the grove, talking to people about the monarchs, or in the visitor center, things like that. But we do have ongoing volunteer activities where we do, I call it restoration, but a lot of times people call it invasive plant removal. And so we have seeds that we're clipping off of hemlock right now. Every time we go out there and clip these seeds off, we're saving hundreds, thousands, and this weekend we did millions of plants that will not come up in the park. And these are invasive plants that really take over, depending on the season, what it is, pulling, clipping, digging, the things that would just take over the whole park and nothing else would be there. That's what we're trying to work on. We have other things that aren't native, but they aren't such a big problem because they aren't really spreading or taking over everything.
And it sounds like a great group activity.
It's a wonderful group activity, yes. So we had a group of high schoolers that joined us, part of Coastal Cleanup, and they came out and they helped. There's a lot of college students from the university that really like to come down and do that because it's outside and it's a little bit different and you can be with your friends. Right. And then you can also see the difference. We had 13 bags piled up with the picture that we took in front of the people that had worked on it. So that was really, really incredible. So that's an ongoing activity that we do. Depending on the season, it depends on what we do. And then in the end of January into February, sometimes early March even, we do a training on the tide pools. So anybody that loves the Rocky Shore, we can share a little bit about how to talk to people about that and how to protect that lovely environment. It's a marine protected area. Sometimes people don't realize that.
Right.
It's all the hard work of a lot of local people to make it that way. So.
That's why I like talking to you, because I really get the feeling it is a real community builder. And of course, as community radio, that's what we go for, community building. And you bring a lot of joy to people. It's hard work, but it's a lot of joy, and it's out in nature, and you get to see the results.
Yes.
Because the more work gets done, the more monarchs feel comfortable coming back and going for the milkweed.
So it's interesting, milkweed is when they leave us and they're going in towards the Bay Area, Central Valley, up towards Oregon, into Washington, east of us into Nevada, and then also towards the Rocky Mountains. So if you know anybody that lives in those areas, kind of spreading out from us, that's what the monarchs are doing. They're following spring, following the flowers, and migrating, trying to find milkweed, trying to lay their eggs, and finding the new spring farther and farther to the north and to the east. And then with the daylight getting less, with the cold starting where they are up in the north and the east, the sun angle getting lower in the sky, the butterflies are coming to the park, and we're starting to see them more and more and more every day. So this festival should be really fun.
Now we have a few more moments. If you want to share any final thoughts of things we hadn't said or what's popped in your mind right now.
So we love having community get involved in the park. I feel like it's a place where everybody can make a difference. From picking up that piece of trash that blew away from somebody else's picnic that they didn't notice, to taking your family photo by the new bridge and watching over time how it changes, to coming in the middle of a winter storm and seeing how the ocean has taken the sand away and how it's changed, and taking your photographs then, and noticing that we have 12 different habitats at Natural Bridges. So it's an incredibly diverse place, tiny but diverse. And as I started off with, we welcome everybody to come, and we really enjoy that this is a special place for so many of you.
Great. Let me repeat how people can get some more information, because I'm sure we couldn't talk about everything you do and what you stand for. You can go to the website parks.ca.gov, and then you look under the different parks, Natural Bridges, and you'll find a lot of information and beautiful pictures, by the way. And the email address is naturalbridges@ports, P-O-R-T-S, ports-ca.us, and you can call 831-423-4609. Thank you so much, Martha.
Thank you, and I hope that all of you listening will come to join us in this festival on Sunday, October 8th.
And then again on February 10th for the Migration Festival, where you'll join with many other organizations and show everyone about migration and have people experience it. There's poetry to be written, so if you want to do that, send them an email and your poems, and if you want to speak them out loud at the October 8th, that'll be great fun.
Thank you so much, Matilda. I really appreciate
You're
coming here.
welcome.